It's 11:47 p.m. You've been busy since 7 a.m. 40 notifications answered. 3 meetings that could have been a text. A dozen tabs still open. And now, lying in bed. Exhausted, you try to remember one single thing you actually did today that you'll still care about in 5 years. You can't. You were busy the entire day, and somehow still behind on the thing that actually mattered to you. Almost 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher looked at people living exactly like this and said something that still lands like a punch. The problem was never how much time you have. It's what you're doing with it while you're not paying attention. His name was Seneca, and the line is this: "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Not life is short. He specifically rejected that. He thought a human lifespan, spent deliberately, is actually more than enough time to do almost anything worth doing. The runway isn't the problem. It's that most of it gets handed away in small pieces to things that feel urgent in the moment and mean nothing a week later. Translate to modern language. Here's what that actually looks like today. You don't lose your time in one big, dramatic moment. You lose it in fragments you don't even notice leaving. The scroll that was supposed to be 2 minutes and became 40. The meeting where you said nothing, contributed nothing, and could have sent one email instead. The message you rewrote 12 times at 2 a.m., rehearsing a conversation that, in real life, will last about 90 seconds. Seneca had a version of this too. He pointed out that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The actual hard conversation might cost you 10 minutes. The dread beforehand can cost you 3 sleepless nights. None of these moments feel like wasting your life while they're happening. That's exactly the trap. Seneca wrote that people guard their money fiercely. They'd fight you over a few dollars, but hand over hours of their one non-refundable life to absolutely anyone who asks, without a second thought. Here's what makes this land differently. Seneca didn't write this from some safe philosophical distance. He wrote it addressed to one real, specific, exhausted person, his own father-in-law, a man named Paulinus, who was burning himself out running Rome's grain supply. Seneca was telling one tired man, directly, walk away from the things eating your life for no real return. And Seneca himself wasn't a perfect example of his own advice. While he was writing this, he was also becoming one of the richest men in Rome, tangled up in the same status games he was warning against. He also spent 8 years in political exile, having lost his young son right before it. And that forced empty stretch of time, the very thing that looked like the ultimate waste of his life, became the period where he did his most important writing. Even his own return from exile came with strings attached. He was brought back specifically to tutor a young boy who would, decades later, order his death. Even the person who diagnosed the problem this clearly didn't fully escape it. Which honestly makes the idea more believable, not less. This isn't a lecture from someone who's already got it figured out. It's a warning from someone who watched himself fall into the trap while writing the cure for it. So here's something you can actually do with this tonight, not just think about. Take 60 seconds. Write down 3 things from today you'll genuinely still care about in 5 years. Not 3 things you did, 3 things that mattered. For most people, that list is short, painfully short next to everything else that filled the day. Now look at tomorrow's calendar. For every single thing on it, ask one question. Is this actually moving towards something I'll care about later, Or is it just urgent feeling noise? You don't need to cancel everything. You just need to notice which is which, because Seneca's whole point is that most people never even ask. So picture that same night again, 11:47 p.m., lying in bed, exhausted. Except this time, you can actually name the one thing you did today that mattered. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's just that you had the conversation instead of rehearsing it for the third night in a row. You don't need more hours in the day. Seneca was clear about that 2,000 years ago, and it's still true. You just need to stop quietly handing the ones you have to things that were never actually asking for them. They were just the loudest voice in the room,